Good morning and welcome to your real estate update on News Talk 670 KBOI. I'm your host, Rick Gray with West One Properties Group here at Keller Williams Realty in Boise, your source for all things real estate. Give us a call at 549-9800. Again, that's 549-9800. We would love to talk to you about all of your real estate needs. You can follow us on the internet at westoneboise.com. That's where our blog is, our agent biographies, our featured listings. So go to westoneboise.com. And if you're a buyer, go to propertysearchboise.com. It's a great website, has a lot of tools. You can set your criteria. You can search by mapping. You can search by neighborhood. propertysearchboise.com. Then, of course, we're on Facebook and Twitter as well. So if you're into social media, make sure you follow us there. We put updates on the team, personal profiles, and also what's going on in the market. I always talk about the market is what's going on right here in Ada County right now. You know, sort of talking about real estate is kind of talking about the weather. We don't really care about what's going on nationally. We care what's going on right here in our town right now. So be sure you turn to this show every Sunday at 11 o'clock and listen to us. We've got some great updates for you today on the show. And call us at 549-9800. I want to talk a little bit today about reasons homes don't sell, what you can do as a seller to make the house sell, what attracts buyers, what are the best things you can actually do. And I also want to talk about what's going on in the market. Are we increasing? Are we decreasing? You know, after the election results here, what do I see as the future? And I've got a lot of good resources for you today. So the West One difference, first of all, you all know my story if you've been listening to this show very long. I started in real estate back in 1994. So I've been doing this about 18 and a half years. I was a single agent, the traditional model. I did everything, right? I marketed all my listings. I went out there and prospected for buyers. I showed property. I wrote offers. I negotiated those offers, negotiated the repairs, sent the instructions to escrow, did every single task along the way. Well, I started to figure out pretty soon into that was great, but I could really service more people and I could service them at a higher level by creating a team. And that's where West One Properties Group came from. It was born about 3.5 years ago. And we do an incredible job of servicing our clients. I've got some really good testimonials and some stories to tell you as well. But call us anytime again at 549-9800. The difference with a team is a committed group of people who are full-time professionals. If you think about this, market knowledge is really important to you, an agent that understands the market and can provide a real competitive advantage, which we'll talk about. There's a real advantage in working with West One over working with a regular team, especially being a buyer or a seller. A buyer, we can actually have a full-time buyer's agent working for you. We actually get listings, and an incredible amount of listings, that we can show our buyers before they hit the market. So if you're out there just looking at the internet, doing property searches online, or if you have an agent representing you, you're still not seeing all the properties. Some of the best properties get sold before they ever hit the market. We'll talk a little about that later in the show as well. And then if you're a seller, it's all about exposure. Getting your property out there to the maximum amount of potential buyers. And we spend an awful lot of money on marketing. The average realtor spends $1,050 a year on marketing. We spent over $150,000 last year and will greatly exceed that this year. And that's all basically designed to get the property out there so we can attract buyers. So let's talk about why homes don't sell. There's really 3 reasons. If you've had a house that hasn't sold before, in fact, we just had one recently that we're listing and we're going to sell it very quickly for the seller, where it was on the market already. It's been listed by another realtor and then it expired. It did not sell. The reason houses don't sell is one of 3 things: marketing, condition, or price. That's one of the 3. And price can encompass all of those things if it's priced really, really low. But you don't want to give your house away, especially in an improving market like we have now. So condition and marketing become big factors in how you can get your home sold. So the questions I always ask is, does the agent you're thinking about listing with have a video campaign? Do they have a radio campaign? Do they have an internet campaign? Do they have a blog? Do they have a guaranteed sales program? Do they have an easy exit listing guarantee? How many websites do they syndicate out to? West One Properties Group has all of those, and we syndicate out to over 900 different websites. And we have the power of the #1 office in the Treasure Valley behind us. Do you realize Keller Williams Realty here in Boise, we have 26% market share, which is a huge number. We almost double up the next rival that we have. And in fact, in the entire country, our office was the #1 office last year, selling over 3,100 transactions in 1 year. So the #1 company in Ada County by far behind you, and that's what West One Properties Group brings with our team as well. So let's talk about some keys to selling. Condition, marketing, and price. Condition is a big key. What I always tell sellers is there's not a lot of eyeballs out there and a lot of buyers right now compared to what there were 6 or 7 years ago. So make your house win the beauty contest. Make it look as nice as you possibly can. In fact, here's a stat. $1,000 spent on enhancing your curb appeal cuts your days on market in half. I'm going to say that again. If you spend $1,000 on increasing the curb appeal of your home, you cut your days on market the house is listed in half. That is a huge number. So what would you do to enhance your curb appeal? The easiest thing to do, and I always tell everybody this, is to paint. Painting is one of the cheapest things you can do that brings the most value back. In fact, we have a preferred relationship with Kelly Moore Paints. Give us a call at 549-9800. We'll tell you all about it. You get 25% off paint at Kelly Moore Paints if you work with West One Properties Group. Paint the house, paint the front door, paint the interior. These are things that are easy to do and will update the house, make it look cleaner and more modern. That's number one. Enhancing your curb appeal is painting, number one. Trimming the trees and the bushes. Putting some color in the yard. That's hard to do this time of year, but when it's springtime and summer, you have the geraniums, you have plants out there with some color. Wash the windows, right? Scrape off the cobwebs from the entryway. You've all been up to houses and seen this before. Power wash the concrete. Get a new front door if you have to. Put in new sod or grass, or at least go to Zamzows or go somewhere. We should probably talk to them about being a preferred vendor. They do some great stuff. I use them myself. Our grass was really green this year. But that drive up is so important because here's the facts. I've been a realtor for almost 19 years. I've worked with a lot of buyers. Buyers make their decision upon driving up to the house and walking in the front door. That's when they make their decision on whether they like the house or not. That's the fact. They spend the rest of their time justifying that decision they already made. They make that decision in about 1 minute, and they spend the rest of the 20 minutes walking through your house looking for the justification. If they liked it, they look for all the things that they like about the house. If they didn't like it, they didn't like the curb appeal, they didn't like the neighborhood, they didn't like walking in the front door, they spend the rest of their time looking for things they don't like. So curb appeal is key. Again, $1,000 spent cuts it in half. Give us a call about that. We would love to talk more about what you can do to get your house ready. 549-9800. So let's talk about the interior, things you can update. Obviously, paint would be one of them. Flooring and lighting. Those are the top 3 things to do to get your house updated and ready to sell. Paint, flooring, and lighting. So if you still have the shag orange carpet and the harvest gold appliances with the avocado green refrigerator, it's time to update the look of the house, right? So we can talk about that. Paint, flooring, and lighting. And then repairs, the top 3 things to do if you're going to repair your house are roof, number 1, plumbing, number 2, and electrical, number 3. So roof is obvious. This is going to come up during a home inspection anyway. All these things are going to come up during a home inspection. So get those things taken care of. Spend a little bit of money on the roof. Spend a little bit of money on if there's leaky faucets, if there's a slow drain in the bath. Get those things fixed before you have a buyer come through. And then electrical as well. We still see very rarely houses with aluminum wiring or houses that are overloaded on the panel. Get those things corrected before you get somebody in. And the final piece to really getting your home ready to sell is staging. Staged homes sell for 4 to 7% more than empty homes. And the reason is pretty obvious. What I said earlier, people walk into the house, how do they feel? Do they feel comfortable? Does it feel like a home? Or does it feel sterile and blank and very vanilla? Vacant houses do sell. Vacant properties do sell, but it sells much better and for 6 to 7% more. In fact, 4 to 7 is the statistic. More money if it actually is staged. So staging means decluttering, right? Depersonalizing, taking down some of the pictures if you have tons of pictures on the wall. I've been in houses, and probably some of you have as well, where every inch of the wall has a photograph on it. And it's not that we don't like your stuff. It's not that we don't like your pictures. But remember, the buyer has to see themselves living there. That's the whole point of decluttering and depersonalizing. Let the buyer imagine themselves living in your home. So staging can help. Getting rid of some of those things can help as well. Staged homes also cut time off of your days on market. On average, 12 days on market less for homes that are staged. So the top rooms to stage are the kitchen, number 1, the living room, and the master bedroom. If you're going to stage a house, if you have a house that's totally empty, we actually work with a professional stager as well, so we can help you with that. If you want to list with us, we have a high-end listing right now in Star, a little over $579,000 on an acre. It's a beautiful home, over 4,000 square feet. We stage that house, and it makes the house look fantastic. So staging is a big key you need to think about, and the cost of a professional stager is reasonable. It's usually $250 to $300. If you can sell your house for 4 to 7% more, that's absolutely worth it. So that's why you need to set your house up to look good. Buyers are very emotional. And what attracts buyers? That's the last thing we'll talk about in this segment. The next segment, I want to talk about some resources for you. The number one thing that attracts buyers is the neighborhood amenities. And how does the neighborhood sit with the school system, with parks? Is there a pool? These are things that buyers are thinking about. So go to 2 different websites and you can look up your school, schooldigger.com and greatschools.org. Schooldigger.com and greatschools.org. They rank schools. They give you the test scores. They give you how many kids per class. These are some good resources. And call us at 549-9800 anytime, and we can talk about exactly what buyers want. But they're looking for a good neighborhood, number one. Number two is they're looking for floor plan. They're looking for updates. So again, if you have the shaggy orange carpet, you have wallpaper all over the walls with flowers, the Harvest Gold appliances, it's time to update. The other thing buyers look at is condition. How does your house compare? With new construction on the rise, you all know that new construction is up almost 70% this year. It's expected to go up almost 100% next year. You better be ready to compete against a brand new house. So updates is a big thing. The last thing to look for is square footage. How big is the home? Does it fit their needs? So join us in the next segment. We'll talk some more about why people buy homes. And we're also going to talk about where are prices and mortgages headed. So stay tuned. Markets. What I want to talk about during this segment is where are we headed? Where are mortgage rates headed? Where are home prices headed? And what can you do if you're a buyer or a seller right now? I also want to talk a little bit about some questions you must think about when you're buying a home. So where are home prices headed? Well, they're headed up. I mean, it's pretty clear. I'm often asked where home prices are headed over the next year, over the next 6 months. And there's actually been several studies recently, people who've stepped forward and given their projections for what's going to happen by the end of next year. And I want to go through these groups right here. In fact, there's 5 of them. Demand Institute, the Urban Land Institute, the Wall Street Journal, the National Association of Business Economists, and the Home Price Expectation Survey. Did you know that there was one of those? So there's lots of economists out there trying to predict housing prices. You can look through the histories, but you can also use common sense. Every 6 to 7 years, I've talked about that before, the market goes through a peak and a valley. So guess what? 6 or 7 years ago was the peak. So guess where we're at now? The valley, and we're just coming out the other side. So what's going to happen? I can just tell you, I've been a realtor for almost 19 years. We're going to see increases. We're not going to see dramatic, incredible 2005, 2006 increases right away, but we're going to be climbing out of this situation we've been in here over the next 5 to 6 years. That's just what happens in real estate every 6 or 7 years. So the Demand Institute thinks next year we'll see 1.75% appreciation. The Urban Land Institute says 2% appreciation. The Home Price Expectation Survey says 2.4% appreciation. The National Association of Business Economists says 2.8%, and the Wall Street Journal is the most optimistic, saying 3.25% appreciation next year. All 5 of these groups are calling for home values to rise. None of them are saying that they're going to go down. None of them are projecting we're going to hit historic appreciation levels, but none of them are going to basically say that we're going to hit negative levels either. We're not going to go down, in other words. So if you're thinking about buying, really, now is the time to buy a house. And here's another reason why. Where are home mortgage rates headed? Well, they've got to be headed up. I mean, there's just no way they can go down unless they're going to start paying you to buy a house. That's really the next step. I mean, when I was a kid in the 80s, I watched real estate, obviously, and actually studied rental houses as well. But in the 80s, interest rates averaged around the 12 to 14% mark. When I bought my first house in 1995, my wife and I got married, we paid 8% interest, which was the going rate for the day. I remember when it was down to 6 and down to 5, we just thought that was incredible. Now we're down in the 3s, and in fact, 15-year fixeds are in the 2.5 range. So they're not going to go down much more. So they're going to go up. As the market and the economy recover, unemployment gets better, jobs start getting created, interest rates are going to go up. Look it up. It's called inflation. It happens every single time. So after reaching record lows this year, mortgage rates are expected to creep up. That's no surprise. They're going to creep up slowly next year. This is according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. They say rates on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage are expected to average 3.8% in the fourth quarter of this year, rising to 3.9% in the first quarter of next year, and eventually rising to 4.4% by the fourth quarter next year. So that's almost a percentage point higher than the low that we had this year. 1 percentage point. You say, well, that's not a big deal. That's a huge deal. That's a big difference in purchasing power. That's a big difference in how much home you can afford. If rates really do go up almost a point by the end of next year, That's going to be based on the fact that we're recovering as an economy. We've got more jobs. There's more things happening. Things are more optimistic as far as the outlook goes. That's what happens. Interest rates go up. So where are home mortgage rates headed? They're headed up. Now is the time to buy, really. And if you're selling, it's a great time to sell because people are just now figuring this out. There's a lot of first-time home buyers out there. 32% of the market is a first-time home buyer. So let's talk about what should you think about when you're buying a house. Now, I'd love to meet with you on an individual basis. We go through a buyer consultation. My team has 3 buyer specialists. That's all they do is they work with buyers. We also have 2 listing specialists, and then we have an admin staff as well. But the big benefit of having a buyer's agent is someone that focuses on you. We sit down and talk about what are your goals? Why are you looking to buy a house? And what is it you want to accomplish? Where are you at in your life? What's your lifestyle like? Are schools important or are they a non-issue? So number one, the first question that we always talk to people is, what do you expect? What is your lifestyle? Why are you buying this house? So we want to go through that, really understand what your goals are. Because yes, the financial pieces are there to where this is a great time to buy a house. But what about you specifically? Is it a great time for you to buy a house? So number one, what are the experts recommending? Basically, people are recommending to buy a house. Warren Buffett, and you can look it up. They're really bullish on real estate right now. Number two is, when will I begin to see appreciation if I buy now? Well, if you go by that 6 to 7 year cycle, which has been solid, rock solid, it's just, you cannot argue with it. Our next bubble, so you go 2006 was the last peak. That means 2012 is the bottom. The next peak is going to be 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. So if you buy a house now, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you based on history, you have tremendous appreciation between now and 2018 and 19. If you wait to 2018 or 19 to buy, you're going to be in the same boat of all those people that bought in 2006, right? Calling me right now saying, I bought my house for $190, it's now worth $85. I mean, literally. So if there's a time to buy, now is the time to buy. And then why am I buying in the first place? That's the third question. Why are you buying? Is it because you want a good place to raise your children? Is it because you want to get them into the right school district? Is it a place that you feel safe? Is it you want more space? Is it you want more control of your space? I mean, what are the reasons you specifically want to buy? So call us at 549-9800. Let's set up an appointment, sit down with you, and go through what is exactly you want to do, and we can find the house for you. The other big advantage of working with West One Properties Group is we get calls every single day from motivated sellers. These people want to sell their house. They're either moving because of a job transfer, relocation, they need to be in another city for schools, downsizing, upsizing. They need to sell for some reason. Well, we go out and talk to those people. I've got 6 right now, what we call pocket listings. I actually really have 6 houses right now that we are going to be putting in the computer this next week, okay? But they're not in the computer now. But if you're one of our buyers, we call them our VIPs. If you're one of our VIP buyers, you get to know about those houses before we ever put them in the computer and put them on the market. Don't you think that would be an advantage to you? In this climate where we're acutely suffering from inventory shortage, there's not a lot of houses on the market. Buyers are having a hard time finding what they want. If we can say, hey, we've actually got listings that are not for sale yet, would you like to know about them? That's an absolute advantage. If you're going out there just using the internet or seeing for sale signs in the yard, or even if you're using an agent, they're missing these properties. These properties are not on the internet yet. They don't have a sign in the yard yet, but they're going on the market. They have the paperwork signed. They're going on the market here in the next week. So that's a huge advantage for you of working with West One Properties Group, because that's one of the reasons we spend so much money on marketing. We market a tremendous amount on the radio and on the internet, and we market to other realtors as well. The reason is we want to attract those sellers that are actually wanting to sell their house, and we want to expose their houses out there. So the final piece today, let's just talk and finish up with self-responsibility. One thing I always like to talk about, go to our Facebook page or go to our West One Properties website, which is westoneboise.com. We're also on Facebook, and I put little personal development nuggets in there every now and then. That's something that's dear to my heart. And personal development's a key, especially after the election we just had, no matter what side of the fence that you were on. One thing I always like to tell people is, don't be a victim. Are you a victim, or are you someone who creates your own reality? What I like to talk about is create a vision for yourself and your family. Don't live in the current circumstances that you're experiencing. Live in that vision and make it happen. If you really believe in self-responsibility, then you believe that you can control what happens in your life. It really doesn't matter if the Republicans are in power or the Democrats are in power. You are in charge of your life, and you can make your own decisions to become successful. That's the great thing about living in the United States. So tune in next week at 11 o'clock. call us at 549-9800. We look forward to working with you.